It's Brian Preston, the Money Guy.
All right, Brian, here's an interesting one. This one is from Paul. And Paul said, how do I convince my parents to invest when they have paid off everything and are just piling up cash? Haha. I think this is really interesting because you come from a family that they were financial mutants in the sense that they did all of the hard things right. They didn't run up debt. They were responsible. They lived on less than they make. But this investing thing seems sort of nebulous to them, right? How would you tell someone, this is obviously a child trying to talk to their parents who've done all the right things right. They have no debt, but hey, maybe you should start investing. How do you get someone over that threshold? How do you convince someone that investing is a prudent thing to spend time doing? And then my parents are the same way, so I'm happy to share some there as well.
Well, it's interesting because I do grow up in a household where my parents were so good at saving money, but never let the money work for them. That army of dollar bills concept that we cover so much. And by the way, I had this conversation with my daughter last week. She works at Chick-fil-A and she's just racking up cash because my daughter just is so Spartan. I mean, her stuff, she doesn't care about clothes. She doesn't care about she just wants to work on the computer, do animation and other things. And I was like, look, you're just letting your cash pile up. You haven't made a contribution to your Roth, in a while. And that's concerning to me because, and I got it, because we had this conversation. She was like, it just feels so good to have cash in the bank.
Just sitting there.
And I realized that I am asking you to create, I don't know if it's the three, the three bears or the Goldilocks. I guess it is Goldilocks. Three bears, they're all related. But I'm asking for you to create the Goldilocks situation where, yes, cash is so comforting. We just covered how Warren Buffett talks about he's always going to keep a base level in there. But there is this point where you can have too much of a good thing where your money does need to work for you. And I've shared the example of two parents. My in-laws were never they didn't make $1 gazillion a year, and my parents never made $1 gazillion a year. But the difference between my in-laws and my parents is my in-laws started investing. I mean, not a ton of money, but they put some of it to work in the Fidelity Magellan Fund back when the Fidelity Magellan Fund was rip-rocking, making money hand over fist. And it's a tale of two night and day. I mean, because my parents have a modest level of money, and then my in-laws had multiple six figures of assets. They got close to, 7 figures. And it's one of those things, and it's like there's no difference in what was funded. The difference is, and realize, I think this is what most people don't realize, when you retire, and this is what you could tell your parents, because even though they're probably closer to retirement, assuming they live to be 90 years of age, there's still parts of their money that is still 30 to 40 years in the future.
That's right.
70 to 95% of the account value is going to be the growth of the account value if you give it enough time for compounding growth to kick in. Don't neglect that. I mean, you have to first respect the financial reserves, give them the peace of mind money that they need, but then they do need to make sure that they're not becoming hoarders and being misers and not letting that money grow and create. And by the way, focus on, if you're trying to have this conversation with your parents, the why. Is the why peace of mind? Okay, we can capture that through the cash reserves. And then if the why is, because I have a call with a dear friend this Thursday. She's getting older. She has this false sense that she can't spend some of her money because she wants to leave money behind for the kids, create a legacy.
Sure.
And I think it's a lot of people, and we're going to have a whole conversation about that. So a lot of parents will have a legacy mindset too, that they want to leave behind some money. Investing definitely can help bolster that part of the conversation, because what's better than saving is getting that army of dollar bills where your money is exponentially getting bigger than even what you can do with your hands, your backs, and your brains.
Yeah, I can't remember if this was Chris Voss in The Art of Negotiation, but I think if you're talking to your parents about how to start doing this, to get comfortable with it, I think you have to start with the fears. What's the thing that they're afraid of that has kept them from doing it? And then you can attack those things head on. You just said a first one. If they have an appropriate emergency reserve in place, the fear of needing to get to money and not being there is squashed, right? You can go ahead and do away with that. If their fear is, oh man, I don't want to time it wrong. The market's done really well. It's super, super frothy right now. This isn't a good time to start investing. talk to them about dollar cost averaging. Talk about putting systems in place. If they're like, I don't know what stocks to buy and I don't know how to go determine which types of investments, great, go buy like low cost, well diversified mutual funds or index funds, or think about hiring a financial professional. There are a lot of ways that if you can figure out what their fear is, inside of the financial world, there are very easy answers that you can let someone just kind of dip their toe in to kind of get addicted to. What you don't want to do is if your parents have been saving all their money in cash and they've got $500,000 sitting in cash, you don't want to convince them to go invest all that money tomorrow because you don't know what the market's going to do, right? If the market tanks, they're going to think you just gave them horrible advice and they'll never go back again. But if you can walk them through a strategy that will set them up for the highest likelihood of success, like dollar cost averaging over the long term, like making sure they get on the right side of the risk spectrum, you can stave off a lot of those fears. And what I think is beautiful, and I do this with my friends who want to open up their first Roth IRA, but they don't know how, they don't trust the investing world. I try to get them addicted to it. Hey, $50 a month. Let's just do this for a few months. And 6 months. How'd you do? Oh, well, that 50 is now worth like 55. How'd that? And then, you get them addicted to that. They'll start to begin to see the light at the end of the tunnel that this actually works. So it's really more of an education process, a negotiation process, but you can use negotiation tactics to get them over that line.
Yeah, I mean, because we talk primarily to financial mutants, but I look at my client base and I have like business partners of financial mutants that hired me. And then because that went well, I got the business partners who are not financial mutants. Right. These are people who spend every dime. They make great livings, but will spend every dime they make. And I always think, man, some of these people, I feel so good that I've made them truly wealthy, not just income affluent, but actually truly wealthy on net worth, because I challenge them to start with some type of monthly investment, and then it caught. And then as they had more income, they would save $1,000 more.
They get it.
And then all of a sudden they look at their portfolio and go, wow, we created wealth together. And I'm like, that's the way this does. You would never have done this if we didn't put out the breadcrumbs and actually create the path for you.
Love it.